And I was training hard, working hard, and fighting on my day off.
Eddie Futch was boxing's greatest mastermind, a strategic genius who revolutionized training through scientific analysis and systematic preparation methods that turned ordinary fighters into world champions. The cerebral trainer developed innovative techniques that became boxing's most closely guarded secrets for decades. Futch approached boxing like advanced mathematics, breaking down every movement and creating detailed game plans that gave his students massive advantages over opponents who relied purely on instinct and natural ability. His methodical approach produced champions across multiple weight divisions. But success attracted enemies who coveted his knowledge and intellectual property. Some fighters used Futch's system to achieve greatness, then abandoned him while spreading his proprietary methods to rival camps without permission or compensation for years of research and development. Others rejected Futch's analytical philosophy entirely, suggesting that boxing intelligence was worthless compared to raw talent and street fighting experience gained through actual combat rather than systematic study and preparation. The worst betrayals came from students who secretly sold Futch's training innovations to competing organizations while still benefiting from his guidance and strategic expertise. These intellectual thefts nearly destroyed his reputation and livelihood. We're revealing 6 boxers who committed the ultimate sin against boxing's premier strategist by stealing, rejecting, or betraying the scientific methods that had made their success possible through systematic innovation and analytical excellence. 6. Sugar Ray Leonard. Starting at number 6 is Sugar Ray Leonard, the golden boy whose supreme confidence in his natural gifts led him to dismiss Futch's sophisticated strategic concepts as unnecessary complications that would slow down his instinctive fighting style and creative improvisation during championship encounters. Leonard possessed exceptional speed, timing, and ring intelligence that made immediate success possible without extensive preparation or detailed analysis of opponent weaknesses and tactical vulnerabilities that Futch spent weeks identifying and exploiting through systematic observation. The conflict emerged when Leonard began skipping strategy sessions and ignoring scouting reports that Futch had prepared through countless hours of film study and statistical analysis designed to provide decisive advantages during crucial championship moments. Futch watched Leonard achieve remarkable victories through pure athleticism while rejecting the tactical frameworks that could have made those successes even more dominant and consistent against elite opposition who possessed comparable physical attributes. The philosophical divide deepened when Leonard started making public statements about trusting instincts over preparation, suggesting that overthinking could paralyze natural reflexes and spontaneous creativity that made boxing exciting rather than mechanical. Leonard's success without embracing Futch's complete system frustrated the trainer's belief that systematic preparation should always enhance natural ability rather than competing with inherited talents for control over competitive performance. The missed collaboration represented a lost opportunity to combine Leonard's exceptional gifts with Futch's revolutionary methodology, potentially creating boxing's most perfectly prepared champion rather than settling for extraordinary but incomplete excellence. 5. Thomas Hearns. At number 5 is Thomas Hearns, the Detroit destroyer whose calculated abandonment of Futch's developmental system after achieving championship status represented the most ungrateful betrayal of intellectual investment and proprietary knowledge transfer in modern boxing history. Hearns arrived as raw talent requiring complete reconstruction of fighting fundamentals through Futch's painstaking methodology that transformed amateur potential into professional excellence over several years of intensive technical development and strategic education. The relationship flourished initially as Hearns embraced every aspect of Futch's comprehensive training philosophy while demonstrating remarkable improvement that validated the systematic approach to boxing development through scientific analysis and methodical skill building. Futch invested countless hours developing Hearns' unique physical attributes into devastating weapons through specialized drills and tactical concepts that maximized reach advantages while minimizing defensive vulnerabilities against shorter opponents with superior inside fighting capabilities. The betrayal began when Hearns started sharing Futch's proprietary training methods with unauthorized personnel who had no legitimate access to techniques developed through decades of experimentation and refinement by boxing's premier strategic innovator. Worse still, Hearns began teaching Futch's private methodologies to rival fighters and trainers without permission or acknowledgement, essentially giving away intellectual property that represented years of research and development investment. The final insult came when Hearns publicly credited his success to natural ability rather than acknowledging the systematic transformation that had converted raw athleticism into championship-level boxing skills through Futch's revolutionary training innovations. Futch never forgave Hearns for treating proprietary knowledge like public information while building his reputation on stolen intellectual property that belonged exclusively to the man who had created his entire fighting foundation. Number 4. Roberto Duran. Number 4 brings us Roberto Duran, the Panamanian savage whose deliberate mockery of Futch's intellectual approach and open contempt for boxing science represented the most dangerous threat to systematic training philosophy that the analytical community had ever faced. Duran embodied primitive fighting instincts that achieved extraordinary results without any formal education or structured development, creating a powerful argument against Futch's belief that scientific methodology was essential for sustained championship excellence. The philosophical confrontation intensified when Duran began making inflammatory statements about boxing intelligence being a worthless theory created by people who had never experienced genuine combat or understood the raw violence that determined victory. Futch viewed Duran's anti-intellectual stance as extremely dangerous because it encouraged younger fighters to reject educational opportunities while embracing ignorance as somehow more authentic than systematic preparation and strategic planning. The cultural dimension added complexity as Duran's success seemed to validate primitive approaches over sophisticated training systems, potentially undermining decades of progress in boxing education and scientific development that Futch had pioneered through careful research. Futch considered Duran's anti-science attitude personally insulting and professionally destructive to everything he had worked to establish about boxing's capacity for intellectual advancement and systematic improvement through dedicated study. 3. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. At number 3 is Marvelous Marvin Hagler, the middleweight champion whose training camp systematically copied Futch's innovations through industrial espionage that represented the most sophisticated theft of intellectual property in boxing's competitive landscape during the sport's modern era. Hagler's organization recruited former Futch students who carried detailed knowledge of proprietary techniques and strategic concepts that had been developed through years of experimentation and refinement by boxing's premier analytical mind. The systematic infiltration became apparent when Hagler began demonstrating training methods that were identical to Futch's private innovations, including specialized conditioning protocols and tactical preparations that had never been publicly documented or shared. Futch discovered that his own former fighters were being used as conduits to transfer sensitive information about opponent analysis techniques and strategic planning processes that represented decades of accumulated research and competitive intelligence gathering. The situation escalated when Hagler's camp started implementing Futch's most advanced concepts while simultaneously developing countermeasures designed to neutralize those same methods when facing Futch's current students in championship encounters. Futch realized that Hagler had essentially stolen his complete training system while using it to defeat the very fighters who had originally developed those techniques under his guidance and supervision. 2. Larry Holmes. Number 2 is Larry Holmes, the calculating heavyweight whose systematic extraction of Futch's knowledge while secretly planning his departure represented the most manipulative and premeditated betrayal in professional boxing's trainer-student relationship history. Holmes arrived seeking Futch's expertise for heavyweight championship preparation, while concealing his intention to absorb maximum information before switching to more commercially advantageous training arrangements that offered superior financial terms and promotional opportunities. The deception involved months of intensive education as Holmes learned Futch's complete strategic methodology while pretending genuine commitment to long-term partnership and mutual professional development through sustained collaboration and shared success. Futch invested enormous time developing customized training protocols specifically designed for Holmes's physical attributes and fighting style, creating proprietary techniques that would have provided lasting competitive advantages throughout his championship reign. The betrayal became apparent when Holmes announced his departure immediately after extracting Futch's most valuable intellectual property, revealing that the entire relationship had been calculated exploitation disguised as legitimate professional partnership. Contract negotiations exposed Holmes's true intentions as he attempted securing rights to continue using Futch's methods while eliminating ongoing compensation obligations and exclusive access agreements that protected proprietary information from unauthorized distribution. The manipulation extended to Holmes, sharing Futch's techniques with his new training staff, while claiming credit for innovations that had actually originated from systematic theft of intellectual property developed through decades of research. Futch realized he had been used as an unwitting stepping stone by someone who viewed their relationship as temporary opportunity rather than genuine partnership based on mutual respect and shared professional objectives. 1. Joe Frazier. And finally, at number 1, the most devastating intellectual betrayal in boxing history. Joe Frazier, the Philadelphia Warrior, whose secret sale of Futch's complete strategic playbook to rival organizations represented the ultimate violation of trust and professional ethics. Frazier had spent years absorbing Futch's most advanced concepts while developing the systematic approach that transformed him from amateur prospect into heavyweight champion through methodical application of scientific training principles and strategic innovation. The relationship appeared completely successful as Frazier achieved championship status while crediting Futch's methodology for his systematic improvement and tactical sophistication that separated him from other heavyweight contenders who relied purely on physical attributes. The betrayal began when Frazier started secretly meeting with competing trainers and promotional organizations while still benefiting from Futch's ongoing strategic development and proprietary research that represented decades of accumulated knowledge. Investigation revealed that Frazier had been selling detailed documentation of Futch's training methods, including opponent analysis techniques, strategic planning processes, and conditioning protocols that formed the foundation of his competitive success. Frazier's systematic theft nearly destroyed Futch's career as competitors gained access to proprietary methods that had previously provided decisive advantages in championship preparation and tactical planning for elite competition. The ultimate irony was that Frazier used Futch's money from selling his secrets to finance training with rival organizations who were now better equipped to defeat Futch's remaining students through systematic application of stolen knowledge and strategic concepts. From stolen strategies to calculated betrayals, Eddie Futch learned that boxing's greatest enemy was intellectual theft. Which betrayal shocked you most? Subscribe for more training secrets.